why is it so important for Good Trouble to happen now? I know the release date was intended for a little bit earlier, but honestly, I think right now it's a great time for it to come out and have this impact statement. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, the sad part is that you're a young woman and I'm not so old. The fact that we're still talking about stuff like this
Yeah.
and it's right up in our face with the unrest, the protests that are happening on the
Mhm.
streets, the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic and the people that it's directly affecting, the so-called essential workers, are often of color and people who have come to it recently immigrated to this country. We're also talking about this because John Lewis talks about the right to vote and the lack of the assault on voting and voters' rights is terrible. And you know, and it works to undermine our democracy. That's why this is important. The fact that it could happen right now in 2020, when all of these things are coming to a head and we're having depressed financial struggle, to me is that's the universe.
Mhm.
We didn't, of course, we didn't plan to do something in 2020 naturally around the election because that's when you start talking about people like this. And John Lewis is one of, as far as I'm concerned, the founding fathers of the nation. What they did with civil rights in the second Reconstruction was significant. The fact that he is here now, going to Black Lives Matter Boulevard, standing there to say, here I am, and telling the young people, I'm with you, I hear you, keep doing your thing, keep pushing. He's doing that in the middle of fighting for pancreatic stage 4 cancer.
Mhm.
And it just shows you that heroes, just because you do something well and for people, doesn't mean that you get an easy go at it. He's still teaching us resilience and how to come forward and do what we need to do. So I hate to say it, but the truth is America is a young nation. It is a young nation, and it certainly wasn't designed with all of us in mind, with true equal rights. And it's because of nonviolent warriors like John Robert Lewis, who through their blood, sweat, and tears and truth rebuilt the Constitution to reflect a better America that accounts for all of its citizens. He's got the blueprint. We know now what to do. And the fact that you see those faces in the streets, black, brown, young, old, rich, poor, fighting for the same thing, that's change, and that's great. So I think this is destiny that's brought us all together.
I agree. I think that how impactful the movie was after I watched it, it was more of just it taught me a lot. I know that taking courses throughout school and everything, you learn a few things. You learn a few things here and there, but there was so many things that I sat there and just it was almost when he was sitting there watching those clips of himself, it was
Yeah.
almost like he was rewatching it. I was there with him, like had no clue that some of these things were going on and how involved he was. So why do you think it's important that people like me and like you said, like young people in the nation, people who are going out to vote, do see this film and have that intense feeling towards it, like I did?
Well, because we're not separate and apart. And people say we're all in the same boat. No, we're not. We're all in the same storm, he says, but people are in different boats. Some people got canoes, some people got rowboats, some people got yachts. The thing that we need to see ourselves is that I cannot let anyone suffer if I have an opportunity to stop it or to help. That's just the truth. That should be that's a sort of a social contract that we make with each other. It should be the source of what makes us truly American. That if we can see in me and I see you and say, that's my baby sister, I'm gonna make sure I fight for her. I don't need to know you. I don't need to whatever, but I'm gonna put my body on the line so that when you go, whether it's to a parking lot to get gas or whatever, no one's gonna bother you and doesn't have the right to. I say, no, Danielle's mine. She's mine. You don't get to do that. Then we see George Floyd, and people say, oh, well, he was this or he's that. I said, you saw him being murdered in the middle of the street. What else did you need to see? That's not right. If we're not protecting our all of our citizens, and again, being able to want to put our stakes on the front line, then who are we really? Who are we? So that's what's important for young people to see themselves in the and their future in the least of these. How you treat the least of these is how you will be eventually treated. And it will come back to bite. But James Baldwin said, whatever was built, if it wasn't built for everyone, that they would wreck it. And you saw in the street, they were wrecking everything. And so that's why.
I think I know that some of those clips, even for me watching them and not knowing everything that's going on, it's hard to watch and watching him kind of relive those moments, I think are probably the most important thing to see for people like myself. I've recommended this film for others as soon as they can see it. And I think it's just important as of right now. There's all these people talking on social media that just have opinions. And I think that this is just a laid down film that is just going to show the history and the facts, and that we need to come together
Yeah.
and understand what really happened. And it's an amazing film. So I thank you for that. But I did want to get into kind of your background a little bit on how you got started in this. So I read a little bit about you, but I want to hear it from you as well.
Well, I've been a surrogate for different campaigns for a little while, but most immersive in the Hillary Clinton 2007 and 2016 run. I'm her most traveled surrogate. So that means I got to meet all sorts of people, especially there were a lot of Black Congress people and uh, community leaders around her. She has been forging those relationships for 40 years. I got a chance to meet them all and campaign with them. And I got to learn from these people. And John Lewis, I was campaigning in Georgia with Ayanna Pressley and Stacey Abrams. We were campaigning on her behalf, but it was a master class on how to be young, gifted, and Black in American politics from one of America's founding fathers inside of the civil rights struggle. He treated us like we were his daughters, and we had a great time doing that. But out of that came this opportunity because his constituent service rep, Rachel O'Neill, knew that I had just started a production company. And she called up and said, hey, there's this project going around, maybe you can help. I said, of course, I'll do whatever I can. Turns out that it would need some people to make it happen. And so I talked to Dawn Porter and Ben Arnon, who's my creative partner. We immediately said, hey, why not do it together? And she said, yeah, let's do it together. Stronger together, boom. And we were on our way. I had no idea that campaigning for Hillary Clinton would bring me back to my roots in storytelling through documentary for John Lewis. And that just shows you about saying yes and showing up.
Such a cool story to hear you going right back to that. And I think it's just awesome that you did get into the mix and realize how important it was to get this story told. It's obviously an amazing movie in itself, but how powerful the message is I think the main deal of it. And so I think that's really awesome.
No, thank you. You know, the thing I want to say is that right now, as we talk about, you know, we're on July 4th and talking about finding founders, the founding of America, which is this great social experiment. And we're also seeing whether it can withstand the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as Shakespeare talks about it. That our hope is in the future and your hands and the young people of the states to see the gross disparities and correct them, to ask themselves if reparative work, meaning reparations for people who were enslaved for 400 years, is now at hand, to look at the border and say, how do we treat the people who try to enter? Can we treat them with kindness and respect? Can we know that they're human beings that come and pick our food and make sure that we're okay? And they're essential now, but are they essential when we come back and reconstitute ourselves? The future literally is built in real time. It's not, I just want people to know that it's a moving target democracy, you know, and we make it that way when we vote. And who we vote for says who we are. So I think that people need to show up and show out. It doesn't matter if they vote for the person I believe in. It just matters that they don't stop anyone else. So thank you.
I agree. And I think it's an important message to say to those people my age, older, anyone that is not voting or just has the repercussion to do so. It's just so important to understand how important that is. So I want to thank you again.
Thank you. It's our most, John Lewis says, it's our most powerful nonviolent tool for change is the vote.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So happy July 4th, young lady. Go and do your thing, Danielle. I'm so glad to see you in the media space.
Thank you.
Fresh blood and that fresh look. And thank you so much for your interest in the film. I appreciate you.
No, well, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day, okay?
I will, Dollface. Take care.
Bye. Take care.